Okay, great. Okay, so welcome everyone to the webinar. We're going to talk today about how to double the results of a marketing agency at half the cost. And so just to clarify, I have a marketing agency, so I'm definitely not against marketing agencies, but I also believe that there's a lot that a business owner can do to actually get some amazing results in their business, and you don't always need a marketing agency to do that. So we're going to clarify in this webinar exactly what kind of businesses can do well by doing some of these things themselves, why it's important that you do it yourself as opposed to using an agency, and what are the things that you might want agencies to do and what you might want to do yourself. But at the end of the day, we're going to talk about the 4 or 5 things that, after working with many clients over the last 4 or 5 years and helping them do their own marketing, how I've seen the different results I've seen, how I've seen some spectacular results with actually the business doing a lot of these things themselves. And I think at the end of it, it'll give you a different perspective on how you can drive your business forward, whether that's with an agency or whether that's without an agency. But it's definitely a different perspective that I know a lot of you may not be aware of. So that's what today's all about. So if you type into the chat, just tell me quickly why you're here. So is there anything specific you want to hear? And if there is, type it in the chat. I'll just make a note of it, and I'll try to cover that for you. So if there's anything that you've been thinking about, anything that you think you would like to have an answer on, type it into the chat, and then I'll make a note. And then during the presentation, I will answer it for you. So I think most of you know who I am, so I won't go through this too much. But I'll just tell you that there was a point in my career. I was a business owner. I was a sales and marketing manager of a software development company for 12 years, which is really where I learned to do sales and marketing. And then I became an agency owner. But during that time as the agency owner, I started to coach businesses as well. I started out doing some consulting and doing the work for clients, and then it moved into coaching. And that coaching over the last 4 or 5 years has taught me a lot about how to get results for clients. And there are some good ways of doing it, and there are some bad ways of doing it. There are some good results I've got with clients, and I've got some really bad results with clients as well. And every time I had the good results, I'll try and assess, how did I get that result? Why was it successful? When I had a really bad result, I would also do the same thing. And I tried to morph what I did into, how do we actually get a result for a client? You know, how do we be more consistent with results? And that's where a lot of this webinar comes from. And then over the last few years, I've really done a lot of coaching. So my coaching has really gone up. And I have my agency, so I haven't abandoned agency work. I do a lot of agency work, but I also do, a part of my business is coaching. And that's where today's webinar has really come out of. How do you really get a result for a client? Because a lot of businesses, it's like when they have a hammer, everything's a nail. And so if you go to an SEO company, like the solution to all your problems is SEO. You go to a Facebook ads company, the solution to all of your problems in marketing is Facebook ads. And typically people will recommend what they're good at, but sometimes it's not always best for the client. And so what I've tried to be is really objective. And when I've been coaching, I've been able to be objective because I'm not just selling the service that I know, I'm actually helping people achieve an outcome. And sometimes I would get other people, agencies in to do the work because I wasn't the expert and I knew that's what they needed. And because I was acting in that coach, I was able to see some amazing results with clients. And so that's kind of a little bit about me and how I got to this point and why I'm teaching this webinar today. So can you actually get a better result than a marketing agency if you're a business owner? Well, I think the answer is yes, and the answer is no. I think there are some business owners that aren't cut out to actually try and do any marketing themselves. They either don't like marketing, they're either too busy, or they're time poor. And there are some businesses out there that have more cash than time. And for those people, they'll probably always go with an agency. And the results with an agency will be mixed. You'll get some good agencies, some bad agencies. It's like any business. There are some real people that master what they do and other people that really aren't as good. And so your results will vary. There are other people, though, that really can take on some of that marketing functionality. And, for a lot of small to medium businesses, there's a lot of activities in their business that they should be doing. Let me give you one example, SEO. SEO and content creation can typically be outsourced to a third party. The problem with doing that, though, is nobody really knows your business as good as you do if you've spent 20 years in the industry. So when someone else is creating content for you, typically they're getting someone with nowhere near the experience as you. They're typically some sort of SEO company who's really working on numbers. They're just like, how do we get as many articles out there so we can hit our KPIs with the clients, so we can say that we've done all these articles, so then we can justify our fee. But the quality of content they're creating is typically not very good. It's written by a third-rate writer who is a lot cheaper, someone who doesn't know the industry and just does some Google searches. And especially if I know, Mike, you're in the law industry, and I know a few of you are in different other industries. You know that industry better than anyone else. And so when you get someone else to write it, it's typically low quality content. But what Google really wants is high quality content, and not as much of it, but really good quality content. And therefore it makes sense for some types of businesses to bring it in-house and to spend a bit more time on it, not just because you want to save money, but you want better quality content. And so every business is different, but that's why the answer to this is yes and no. Can you get a better result than an agency? Yes, you can, because there are some certain parts of marketing that you will always outperform the agency, but the agency can scale. But then there are some businesses that just don't have the time or energy to do it. And so you really is a personal thing. So as we go through today, hopefully I can draw you in one direction or the other that's better for your business. And it may not be for all of your marketing. You may have to split it down and do some yourself and then get an agency to do others, depending on where you're at. Okay, so let me tell you very quickly about Corey. Corey is a client of mine who's really embraced this coaching part. Now, I work with Corey in two of his businesses. So one side of it, I work as an agency, and the other side, I work as a coach. So he has a physiotherapy practice. It's actually a healthcare practice with multidiscipline. So he's got about 8 different disciplines in there: physiotherapy, podiatry, that kind of thing. And that's very successful. He's opened his second location. He's about to open his third. And then he also is a coach. And so he started a coaching business, coaching other healthcare practice owners. And so Corey, over the last 18 months, has started a coaching business from scratch, unknown. And, he's built that business up. He's got a nice core group of clients now. He charges about $2,000 per month for the coaching. And, he's building that up, and he's building it up all through marketing, because he was an unknown person, and still in the industry, he's unknown. He's not a big name. He's a very busy guy. He has 2 businesses he's running, but he's embraced this coaching methodology in this business where we work together, and he's done very well. One of the things with Corey is that his content that he creates is all from him. So no one can replicate that content. So he has to create it because he's doing it in his business, then he's teaching it. The other thing is he records videos on a regular basis, and it's just so much easier for him to do that recording and to organize it himself and then to push it out there. He also has a Facebook group, which he has, and he's growing that group and then getting people into that group, and then people are becoming clients after they interact with him in that group. And that is something that he has not outsourced to an agency. He's doing that himself. Yes, he has a VA that helps him with it, but he has all the processes and systems for that to happen. And then he also sends like a weekly email to his list based on the content he creates. That is something that is really building. And I'm going to show you a bit of a diagram, a calendar of what he's doing this year, based on what he's learned over the last year. And so that's going to really help you to talk about the cadence of how you interact with your clients. But he's doing very well. he's kind of a mixture. He has in his physiotherapy business, an agency, and in this other business, he's doing it himself because the content is something that only he knows, right? A lot of it's his own IP. But when you want to grow your business with marketing, there's typically a few things you have to do to get right. So when it comes to marketing and you want to experience growth, there's 3 core areas you have to get right. The first is you have to have a plan. The second is you have to have the right processes. And the third is you need to work with the right people. Now, if you're a small business owner, a one-man band, then obviously it's just you. But as you grow, and if you've got a team, or even if you employ consultants, then you start to work with other people. But I just want to go through this very quickly because this is kind of the method. We're not going to cover all of this today. We're going to cover the important bits that I think is really helpful. But I want to show you the overview of what you need to get right if you want to get marketing right in any company. This isn't specific to one company. So the first thing is you need a plan. And with that plan, you need to really understand your prospect. Like, do you really understand what's their problem? What's the promise they're looking for? What's the outcome they're looking for? And understand who they really are. Because in any marketing, you have to understand the individual so you can send a message to that one individual. You never want to market your business to everybody because nobody really pays attention to that. But when you can pick one person and give a message specifically to help them solve one problem, all of a sudden they will listen to you. And so in your plan, that's the first thing you need to do. The second thing is you need to know what your goal is, or what is your KPI? What is your key performance indicator? So what are you actually trying to achieve? Is it 10 appointments a week? Is it 2 new clients a week? Because if you want 2 new clients a week, it might come down to 10 appointments because you have a 20% conversion rate. It might be that to get those 10 appointments, you need to get 20, 30 leads. And to get 20 or 30 leads, you need to get so many people to your website, or so many people into a webinar, or so many people to watch a video. And so that goal is very important if you want to actually get a plan that actually achieves, actually grows your business. The next thing is you need a strategy. And the strategy is important because there are a lot of things you can do in marketing. And there are a lot of things that are good, but not perfect for you. And every business has its perfect ratio of, should it be Facebook or Google, or should it be LinkedIn? What is it that will actually get you the result that you're looking for? And if you are following the wrong strategy, you will never reach the goal. And so it's important that you understand your prospect, understand the goal, and then understand what's the path you're going to walk down to get there. Once you know the path, then you move into tactics. And the tactics actually support the strategy. And most people start here, but that's the wrong thing to do. You don't want to start with tactics. You want to start with the prospect, then the goal, then the strategy, and then you figure out, will these tactics actually work? And I've got a good example a bit later to show you how very specific tactics can get a goal very quickly. Then there's the tools. What tools are you going to use to actually complete those tactics to get to the strategy? There's lots of different tools on the market today, but the tools are important because what they should do is cut down the time that it takes for you to implement your plan. And most tools out there don't do that. They're just kind of fluff. They're great at taking money from you, but they're not actually there. They don't actually save you a lot of time. And tools is all about saving time. And then you need the training. If you're going to do this yourself, and even if you're working with an agency, you need to be trained in some way to complete that tactic, or to understand the tactic so you can help with the strategy very, very quickly. And that's very, very important. And then when it comes to people, there's you. You are the most important person as a business owner. You are the one that has to have your mindset right. You have to have your time management right, and you have to be bought into the strategy. If you don't believe it, then you're not going to do it. If you don't believe it, then you're not going to pass it down into the rest of your team. And I've also seen if you don't believe it and you're working with an agency, then it's hard for the two of you to work together if you don't really believe what they're doing. And so you are the most important person. The next is the team you're working with, whether that's an internal team, whether it's a VA or whether it's an agency. You need to have a team around you who you can work with together. And that comes down to a lot of processes and procedures that you need to get right, so you can automate a lot of tasks so that you can measure the goal here, and so you can fulfill the strategy. And it's very rare that people are able to get anything done in business by themselves. And so whether that's a coach, whether that's an agency, whether that's a team members on your team, or whether it's outsourcing or VAs, you need to work with someone. And the last one I would say is a coach. And today's all about potentially coaching. And I think a coach is really important. I'll go into a bit more detail about why we get such good results when there is coaching. So if you type it in the chat, if you've got any questions, this is kind of the overall way of how to grow your business with marketing, the steps you need to go through. You can see there's 9 steps. You don't have to get them all right. You'll never get them all right at the beginning, but you need to know that they're there, and you need to start improving each section as the months go on. And eventually you need to have these all filled out. And that's when you get a plan that actually works and works in the long term. I really believe with marketing and sales. And whenever I say marketing, to me, I always mean sales. I see the two as the same thing. I actually don't see a difference. But whenever I've seen great results in my business and also in my client businesses, it's always when you've been able to chip away and over time fill in the gaps in all of these 9 areas. Okay. So any takeaways? So just type into the chat, is there anything that you learned there with that you can implement in your business, or something that you had a bit of an aha moment when you thought, well, that makes sense? So just type it in the chat. I can see that there's not a lot of you typing in the chat. So it's either because you're very enthralled in what I'm saying, or you just don't want to type in the chat, or there's nothing impressive being said. So, okay, so Dan, can't do everything by yourself. That's great, Dan. You know, that's something that I've had to learn the hard way in business, that, you know, the business owners who can scale are people who they can create a procedure, they can do some automation, but they can also get other people to help them fulfill those processes. So the only reason you create procedures is not because you want to be like the E-Myth and, you know, the E-Myth book and become like McDonald's. The reason you create procedures is so you don't have to do the work again. You know, with me, I always do a task. I record it with a Loom video. I put it into my processes site, and then I never have to do that task again. And that's how I'm able to scale out and do more things, because there's a whole bunch of things that I just don't have to think about. And the quality I know is high because the person doing it is just following me do the task. I do the task, record it on video, then I know that the quality is high because all they're doing is what I already think is the best way of doing it. Okay. And John, you said first steps for a new web design agency. Okay. So you want to know the first steps for a new web design agency. So I'll cover that a bit later. Okay. All right. And then Dan says, no, he has no automation. Can I just say automation is something that I've been doing a lot of the last few years. And there's some great apps out there like Integromat and Zapier. And I think most of us have heard of Zapier. We haven't understood that you can connect a few things together. It's actually a lot more than that. It's actually about business process automation. It is incredibly powerful. And for example, today, this video, this webinar, when it's complete, I'm recording this in the cloud with Zoom. That cloud recording will then be sent to Vimeo. So the video will be sent to Vimeo automatically. I'm using an app called Integromat to do that. And then when it hits Vimeo, then series of tasks will be created in my project management app, which will actually, it'll create a set of tasks, it'll attach the video from Vimeo, and then it'll send a message to Daryl, who works for me, and it'll have a list of all the things he has to do with that video. He has to prepare it, he has to put it on a web page, he has to promote it, he has to put it in, you know, content, and all of that is done without me doing anything. That's the business automation, and you can use Integromat or Zapier to do that. Okay. All right, so great. All right, so let's move on. So the right strategy. So the first thing you need is the right strategy. And we talked a little bit about that, but I've got to say that when it comes to strategy, there are three major things you have to get right that work together. And we've kind of spoken about this. There's the client, there's the goal, and then there's the plan. And so many people don't start with this with their marketing. They, like I said before, they start with the tactics and they never really understand the client. I did this webinar last night and my time, and there was someone on there. He's got a really successful business, about 3 years old. I think they're about 100,000 a month at the moment. And he said, "Mal, I've never really sat down and actually considered who my clients are. I've just gone for it." And he said, I think I really need to really understand them to take the business to the next level. So we're at one level now. To go to the next level, we need to get that bell curve growth. I think we really need to understand who the client is. The other thing he said to me is the plan. There's a whole bunch of things I should be doing with the plan. I should be doing, but I don't have the plan. And so I'm just not doing things. And so you can see that, when it comes to marketing, you can get things right and get to a certain level, but there'll always be a cap if you don't look and say, like, who am I really servicing? What am I trying to achieve? What's the KPIs I'm trying to hit, the key performance indicators? And then what's the plan, right? So what's the path I need to walk down to get there? And when it comes to that plan, it really does come down to the tactics. And these tactics is where most people start. But you really need to make sure that you're choosing the right tactics for your business. And so if you look here, there's tactics and they fall into three different categories. There's all tactics. So there's all the tactics that you can do in your business to achieve your goal. There's things like Facebook ads, LinkedIn, SEO, there's content, there's cold email. And, there's probably 30 different tactics that you can do in your business. And the question is, which ones do you choose? Now, when you develop your plan, there's probably 10 or so that you could do, and they're good tactics for your business. They're good, right? But what you need to look for is the perfect. And there's probably only about 3 that are perfect for your business. 3 that will really drive your business forward. And let me give you an example. One of the coaching people in the coaching program, he's actually doing the program, and his wife has just had to leave her job as a nurse for 30 years because in Australia we have some vaccine mandates, and she didn't want to get the vaccine, and so she had to leave her job. And so basically she's starting a business where she's a nurse, so she's starting a business where she helps women who are struggling to breastfeed and get their baby to sleep. And so they came to me in the call. He said, "Marlon, can you just give me an idea with my wife? Well, what should she do?" So I had a chat to her, and there's a few things she could have done to get business. She could have done Facebook ads. She could have done Google ads, definitely SEO. It's probably the top 3. There's many others she could do. And I spoke to them and I said, look, if you do Facebook, you can get exposed to a lot of people, but most of those people, so you can say on Facebook, hey, I want to deal with women. So a female who has children under 3 years old, right? And in the local area. So you can get pretty much your target market. But of those women that you're showing ads to, probably 2% of them or 3% of them are actually experiencing the problem right now. So you've got this massive group, and then only those are the ones. So you're showing ads to all of these people, but only those people have the issue. And then you've got to get the right time. So the right person at the right time. So Facebook's very powerful, but a better way is probably, I said to them, Google ads. Because Google ads, they're searching right now for that problem. And so SEO is also very good, but SEO is like a 6-month journey. So anyway, they put up their first ad. And in the first week, they spent $20. They got 2 people become a client. So they got 10 clicks, 2 calls, and 2 people became clients. And that was $440. So $240 for the first session. And they have multiple sessions, but just the first session. So $20 and they made $440 and they got 2 clients. Why did that work so well? It worked well because they had the perfect strategy and the perfect tactics for their business. Not everything. They could have done all of this. All of these would be good. So Facebook is good and SEO is good, but it's not perfect for them right now. And so when it comes to your marketing, you have to make sure that you're doing the perfect things, especially if you're bringing it in-house. And you don't want to do all the things. You just want to do the 2 or 3 things that are the most effective right now. Okay, got any questions? Just type it in. Let me tell you about Bret. So Bret actually is an agency owner. So he owns an agency, and I work with lots of agency owners because they struggle with lead generation. They struggle with marketing themselves. They're very good at one thing like SEO, but they're not very good at the other things. And so a lot of them I coach. But Bret had a really good result. He works with electricians, and what he was helping them with is the Google My Business. That's the offer that he had. And so he wanted to find electricians and he wanted to sign them up to his Google My Business service. And so the way we did it with him is he went into a Facebook group. He had access to a Facebook group for electricians. Okay. And he went into the group, he spoke to the admin and he paid them, I think, $300 so he could do 3 posts. And he was going to do 3 posts advertising his agency services. And I said, don't do that. No one's going to care about your agency services. What you need to do is go in and ask them what's their problem. So he went in and he did a post and said, what is your biggest struggle with your marketing at the moment? Is it your website? Is it getting leads? Is it, and a few other things, 3 or 4 things that he really cared about, SEO, that kind of thing. And then he had a little box in the question that said other. And everyone who answered clicked other. And they all said, people undercutting me, other electricians undercutting me, and clients asking for a discount. And I looked, and he came back and he was really disappointed. He said, Marlon, none of them want websites. And so, or Google My Business. And I said, that's great. Now we know their problem. What we should do is create an ebook. And that ebook, it talks about how to increase your prices, not get price objections, and not be undercut by other competitors, other electricians. So he ran that on Facebook. It was a Facebook ad. And then what he got, I think in the first few days, he had 15 leads come in. And then I made him call every lead. So he spent 2 hours one day. He called all the leads. I think 3 of them, the numbers didn't work. 3 of them were not a good fit. And he booked 9 appointments. And so in 2 hours, and I think at that point he spent about $50, he got 9 appointments. And then 2 or 3 of those people became clients after he went through the process with them. Why did this work for him? The reason it worked, it was the right strategy for Bret's business, which may not be the right strategy for your business. But Facebook works for him. Why? Because tradesmen are easy to find on Facebook because they gravitate around Facebook groups. There are lots of pages for tradesmen. You can actually pinpoint them on Facebook. In Australia, I know there's a particular sport a lot of them watch. It's called the NRL, the Australian Rugby League, and they all watch that. And so we can show ads to them. I'll give you another tip that we did that worked really well. And if you know me, you've probably heard this a few times, but what we did is we scraped the yellow pages in Australia for every electrician in the country. We then imported that into Facebook. We created a lookalike audience and then showed ads to those people. So tradies are actually really easy to find. It doesn't work as well with lawyers or financial planners. I'll tell you why. Because to match people in Facebook, you need an email or phone number. Email addresses on the yellow pages are typically not personal email addresses that people sign up to with Facebook. So you can't match it. Like info@mybusinessname.com. People don't sign up with Facebook, so we can't match it. Phone numbers need to be the mobile phone number of the person. So if you're trying to import a financial planner or lawyer or solicitor, that kind of a person, it's their office number. They don't have a mobile phone number. It's an office, so it doesn't work that well. But tradesmen, there's 30% of tradesmen that work for themselves that have their personal phone number on the yellow pages. They have their personal mobile number. And so when we import in, the 20,000, like at least 6,000 of them have their personal, or 3,000 have their personal mobile number, which is the same mobile number they sign up to Facebook with, which then we have a match. And then we make the lookalike audience, and it works really well. Okay. So who's heard that before? Type in the chat if you've heard that method that we use to scrape the yellow pages before. And who thinks it's a great idea as well? So Dan hasn't heard of it. Okay, so that's why it worked really well for Bret. Okay, all right. So any takeaways? Anything that you've learned there that you can use in your business tomorrow or today? So just type it in the chat quickly if there's anything that you have learned. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk to you about is committing to a schedule. So you can take it on yourself. You're going to take on your own marketing. You need to follow a schedule. So here's a schedule of one of my clients. And let me show you how it works and why it works. With any type of marketing, and really what you pay an agency for is to be reliable, right? You pay them a fee and every week they come in and they do the same thing. When you take it in-house, or you're taking some of it in-house, or you're doing it yourself, you need to have a schedule. So if you look here, this is one of the clients and one of the things we do. So we have this lead magnet called the GP referral script. So twice a month, we take one of the lead magnets that they have and we deliver it to the client using email and social, whether it's the group and the page. And the way we do it is we create a post and send an email to the list with a post that shifts beliefs about that topic. So GP referrals, we have something that shifts their beliefs where they look at it from a different perspective. The next day, we actually say, who wants this lead magnet, this cheat sheet? And in the email, we send it to them and they have to click a button, click a link to go and get it from a page. Or on socials, they have to reply with the word GP referral, and then we message it to them. The next day, we send an email and post on the group and the page a case study that shows someone using that script, that GP referral, that lead magnet, and getting a result. The next day on social media, whether it's Facebook or YouTube or the Facebook page, the group, we do a Facebook Live and we teach how to use the lead magnet, okay? And then the next day we send an email and post a message saying, hey, do you need help getting more GP referrals? Just click the button and book a time. And then finally on the Sunday, we take the Facebook Live, put it on the same page where they can get the lead magnet, and we offer it to everyone and say, hey, if you want the training and the lead magnet together, then click the link and go watch it, and or click here and we'll send it to you, okay? Now, every one of these posts, every single one of them here, all of them on the thank you page. So on the thank you page, when they sign up for the lead magnet, we ask them to book an appointment. So this is just one of the strategies we're doing with this client, but we're asking them to book an appointment. And then if you look here, so it's not just marketing, it's also trying to get someone into an appointment. The next thing here is once a month, he does a webinar. So it's the same webinar he does every month, but we change the title. And so it becomes interesting, but it's the same thing. And so once a month he's doing that. You can see every Thursday he's doing a Facebook Live. And over here, we're promoting the webinar through email. So there's no emails going out. Like this week, there's only this, and then we're running Facebook ads for the webinar here. So you can see we're on a real schedule, And every month we just tick over and do the same thing over and over again. So it takes us like an hour to create, the next month's content, to plan it out, and then a couple of hours. So an hour to plan, and then a couple of hours just to create all the content, and then he's on the schedule. And so that's one of the keys to being super successful with marketing. All right, if you've got any questions there, just type it into the chat. All right, so let me tell you about Jeff. Jeff is another business that's taken control of his marketing. And Jeff, when he came to me, he was basically going out of business. He has a property company that basically helps people select a property, and then he helps them get it financed, and then he helps them purchase the property or build the property, and he gets a commission from the property developers. But it's typically a 6-month journey, 6 months to a sale. And he had no leads. And so when he came to me, he said, "No, I'm pretty close to shutting everything down." So we've been working together for 2 years now. And in that 2 years, he's just revolutionized his business. Now he's hired, so he works by himself. He's now hired an admin/sales marketing girl, Lisa, and she works with him. And they now send regular emails every week. They do Facebook ads to get leads. So they only do Facebook ads to get leads, and they nurture them with emails. And he's busier than ever. Sometimes we have to turn the ads off because he's just got too much work. Now, he doesn't need a lot of work because each sale, I think, is about 20K. And it's a 6-month cycle. So there's a lot of work he has to do to make that. So he's not looking at hundreds of appointments a year, but he is looking at getting a certain amount. And once he gets a certain amount, he's kind of at capacity. And so I'll tell you why he's done well. At the beginning, what we did is we built a list, and we built a list to about 500 people who are all interested in property development, like property investment. But for the first 6 months, he did not email those people. He didn't email them. And so what happened is he'd get someone in, he'd try and get them on a call, and when they didn't, he'd leave them. And then I said, "You've got to nurture these people, because in that list of 500, they're all interested, but they're not ready because it's a long sales cycle. Some people are interested today and they're going to make a move in 8 months' time when their financial position changes." So what he started to do was email people regularly. So twice a week, he'd email, 2 emails. One's educational, and the other one is like property of the week. You know what happened to Jeff? Nothing. Nothing happened for like 3 months. And he was like, "Marlon, I don't know, should I keep doing it?" I said, "Just keep doing it." What was happening was people were receiving his emails. They were really impressed. They loved getting them, but they never told him. And then when they were ready, they would just book a call straight in his calendar. So every week to the coaching, he'd come and he'd say, "Oh, Marlon, I just got another call this week. It's amazing. This person has booked an appointment. I asked them, 'How did you find out about me?' They said they've been getting emails for 6 months. They love the emails. They really praised me. And now they're a great client. Like, they know everything about me." The next week he'd come back and say, "Oh, Marlon, I got this new person booked a call. I asked them how they found out about me. They said that their friend has been getting emails from me for the last, 3 months. And they said to him, 'If you want to get a property, the only person you speak to is Jeff. I trust him completely.'" And he said, "I don't even know that person, but they've been getting the emails." And so it really has transformed his business. Not only is he relying on Facebook ads, but he's relying on the nurture now as well. So you get the lead, they're not ready, especially in his industry. He nurtures them, and then they fall out into an appointment a few months or even sometimes a year later. And so it's worked. So he's not doing a lot. So if you look at Jeff, he's doing 2 things: Facebook ads, email, and actually he's doing the 3rd thing, which is videos. Every week he creates videos. So very simple, but that's all he needs to grow his business. If you look up here, there's all the things you could do, but he's just doing the right things for his business. It's really important to find the right things for your business. Now, I talked about automation before. If you are going to do this yourself, then basically you only want to be doing the top 30% of tasks that only you can do. The way you deal with the rest of it is you use automation like Zapier to automate a lot of tasks, like posting the social media, once you create content to get it all the images and all of that for your social media created, when you publish a blog post, there's so much that you can automate, and so much that I automate in my business, even things that aren't marketing related, but process related, because the automation helps me save time there. I can dedicate more time to other things. And the next one is through processes. If you document what you do, and then others can do it. And so when you get this right, then you don't have to do it all. And so you're not doing 100%, you're only doing the top 30%. Okay. Now, the quickest way to learn how to do this isn't to figure this out yourself, it's to be shown how to do it. And so that really comes down to this section here, which is getting a coach. And so there's two more things I want to cover with you. The first one is, a coach is important. Like, I can tell you that I always say to people, I'll never ask you to do anything that I haven't already done. So I talk about Facebook ads, I talk about Google ads, I talk about all these things. I've done it. I've done it for me, and I've done it for my clients, and then I teach it. And so I've done everything. So I've had a coach for the last 3 or 4 years, and the coach has helped me incredibly grow my business. And so I really believe in coaching. I've paid a lot of money. Last year's coaching bill was incredibly high, but I made a lot more money than I paid the coach. But when I signed up for the coaching, there was a bit of trepidation, right? But I worked it because I had to get a return on that. And so the only reason I'm telling you that is because we're going to talk about coaching. I get coaching myself, right? So the reason why a coach is good is because they will give you the right strategy. Remember, we talked about all these different clients I work with, and they've got a very clear strategy on what they're doing. That's what a coach initially does, put you on the right path. The next thing, and the way the coaches I've worked with and what I do, is they provide the training to actually fulfill the strategy. You need to know the how, and you don't need to figure it out yourself. If you figure it out yourself, it'll take you years. I've been doing this for over 20 years. And I've got to say, the first 15 years was awful. Like, I did terribly. And the last 5 years, that's not right, I've been doing it for longer. So I'll tell you, when I worked in that sales and marketing company for 12 years, I've got to say, the first, I would say 8 years, I got terrible results. It was only the last 4 years that I really started to come into my own. And I won an award with Microsoft, and everyone was high-fiving me, and people in the industry started to realize what I was doing and ask me questions. But the first 8 years were terrible. And the only reason I stayed at that company was because the owner liked me. And he said, Marlon, just keep trying. But I resigned one day. After the 3rd year here, I went to him and said, look, it was just after the GFC. Yeah. And I said to him, I need to resign because your business is going down and I don't know what to do. And he looked at me across the table and said, Marlon, great, just abandon me. When I really need you, you just walk out. He said, what I need you to do is stay and make it work. And that day I handed him my resignation letter. And then that day I stayed. I thought I was leaving, and then I stayed. And we stayed together. You can see how long we stayed together for, and we got it working. It didn't work straight away, but he just believed that I've got a good person trying his best, so I'm going to support him. Most business owners aren't like that, but it started to work. It paid off for him, and we're great friends today. But I don't want you to go through that learning curve, right? I don't know how long it is for you, but I wasn't a dumb guy. I just couldn't get online marketing to work. And it was early as well, but there is a learning curve. The other thing coaches create is accountability. And this is really important. A lot of people struggle with actually doing the things they want to do. Like on the webinar yesterday, like that guy I was telling you about, the very successful guy. He basically said, Marlon, I need accountability. He said, there's all this stuff I should be doing, and I'm so busy and I'm not doing it. And I just need you to keep me accountable. And, I think we all need it. I think in business, there's so many things that we all know we should do, but we don't do it because we are distracted. I'll tell you about me, open up to you a little bit. With me, I am very distracted. And the reason I have a coach is because they bring me to earth. There's so many things I could do. And without someone's looking at me and saying, Marlon, is that the right thing? Is that the right thing? I could do so many things. You know, the marketing industry is just so much you can do, and it's so exciting and everything's new. But my coach helps me just say, these are the 3 things I need to do and stay accountable to that. And then they kind of whip me when I don't do it. not in a real way, metaphorical way, but you know, I feel like I have to stay committed within that relationship to keep moving forward. And it's very, very powerful. And then the last thing, which I think is super important, which I help a lot with my people that work with me, is roadblocks. So I can give you the best training, I can give you the best strategy, and I can keep you accountable. But the reality is this training here will never be perfect because your business is always different. So you can watch YouTube videos, you can do anything you like and get training and do a course, but unless you have coaching with that course, you will always hit a roadblock and that will always stop you. And so most of my coaching calls is when the members come on and they're like, Marlon, I've run the ad, no one's clicked. And so what are they going to do? If they didn't have me, they'd probably give up. But I get on, I share screens with them, I look at it, I say, oh, see those 2 things? Change that. They change it and bang, the next coaching call, Marlon, I've got like 6 leads. But they would never have figured that out themselves. And so that's what a coach does. It removes the roadblock. It shows you the quicker path. It looks at the problem that they've solved 20 times before and says, I know how to solve that. And that's the power of coaching. And that's why if you are going to bring it in-house and you are going to do it yourself, a coach is very powerful. Let me talk to you about Hudson. Hudson is another student of mine. I really helped him in the sales process. He was selling, had a product that was $3K. And after working with me, the first time he resold that product, he sold it for $10K. How can he do such a big jump? Did he triple the value of what he did? He increased it, but it wasn't 3 times. He probably added 50% more value to what he was selling. So he did add more value, but he didn't 3X it, right? But he sold it in a way which he had no idea how to actually conduct a proper sales process with a client and actually listen to the client and actually summarize back to the client what their problems are. He didn't do any of that. And when he started to do that methodically, he actually was able to increase his prices. And the value to the client is based on how much they feel you understand their problem. And if you can solve the problem and they're solving a problem that's a $10,000 problem, they'll pay $10,000 to solve that problem. But I showed him the sales process that enabled him to do that. And then he was able to actually do it. He did it the first time, the first sale. But I was on the phone to him multiple times during that process when he said, Marlon, I had the call. What do I do next? And I was telling him what to do. And then after the second meeting, he said, I've delivered it. They said they're interested, but what do I do now? And I said, well, you need to call up the owner 2 days later and you need to have this conversation with him. And, you know, there's a whole bunch of things that he did and he was able to make that sale. But most people wouldn't make these type of calls. There's a call we use in there called a hallway conversation. And it's a call that in between the first meeting and the second meeting, you call the CEO up and just say to him, I'm thinking about the business. What do you think about this kind of pricing? Would that work? And you get the price out of them in between the first and second meeting. You never go into a meeting where you say to them, hey, it's 10K, because you embarrass everybody, right? The CEO's embarrassed. He's got his staff there. He's like, what, 10K, where did that come from? You put everyone in a bad situation. So the hallway conversation is when you call up the CEO and say, look, I'm just working with the pricing at the moment. If you want everything that we discuss, it's about 10K. Does that work? Because if it doesn't, we can take some things out. And it allows them to say, wow, that's too much, or actually that might work. And then you just negotiate with them on that call. Oh, is 10K too much? Well, what if we took this out? Would that work for you still? Because that would bring the price down to 8. And then you negotiate. Then when you present it to them in the last meeting, they already know the price. You told them. They're not embarrassed. They're not surprised. They probably thought about it and thought, actually, we could go ahead with this. So that's a process, right? That came through coaching with Hudson. Okay, let me tell you one more thing before we finish up, because I have a coaching call I got to get to. So this is the thing. I think being consistent is, if you take nothing else out of today, take this. I think in life, you don't have to do the best thing. I just think you have to do anything consistently. So you don't have to do the best marketing strategy. Take the worst marketing strategy that you can think of, but do it consistently over 12 months and you'll get a result. And that's better than doing the best thing for 1 month. Okay. So most people are like this. They are super keen and they're changing, like this is different, everything they're doing, and they're doing bursts and they're coming back and doing nothing and bursts of marketing. And then they're going to LinkedIn and Facebook. What I find works best is when you're super boring and then super consistent, and when you can start to, be consistent and build on every week, build on every month. And that's when you see super results. So boring, but consistent, every single month, get your plan. Geez, it's a long way back. Where is that plan? Oh no, here it is here. Every week, get your marketing calendar and you consistently execute on that marketing calendar. And so there's one more thing I want to talk to you about, and that is about doing it 70%. I have a bit of perfectionism in my family with my kids. And one of the best things I've told one of them is, don't try and do anything 100% because you never launch, you never do anything. Just try and aim for 70%. And that's really transformed his life. He's a perfectionist. He's a very good musician, and perfectionism is perfect as a musician. But in life and in business, it's terrible. And so it's a strength in one area and a weakness in another. So the way he bridged the gap is he said, I'm not going for 100% in these areas of my life. I'm going for 70. And that 70% means he's done a lot more and he's been super successful in areas that he's not as strong in. But that's 70%, and then consistency. He's learned to be super consistent, and I've done that in my business as well. And that's how I've seen some great change. So you've got a choice, right? So there's 3 boxes, 3 choices you can make. You can do nothing, which some of you will, and that's okay. It's all about timing, when the right time is for you. You can do it yourself, and this is where you try and do it yourself. But can I just tell you, that's a long journey if you haven't done it before. It's frustrating. Try to learn from your own mistakes. And most of you will end up quitting the marketing journey. You'll do a bit and then stop, do a bit, stop, and then you'll just focus on other areas of the business that are easier to do. Or you can get a coach or get help. And this is the best way to ensure that you have the best chance of being successful. I can't promise anything. I can't promise that you're going to be super successful. What I can promise is that there's a systematic path you can follow that many people have trodden that can give you the best opportunity to be successful. And I've seen it many times. I've experienced it myself. And if that's you and you're in this category, I want to encourage you to book in a strategy call with me. It's basically a 15-minute chat where we will chat, and I will not try and sell you anything. So I just want to be clear. I won't try and sell you anything on that call. What I want to do is help you. I want to take some of these strategies we talked today and apply them to your business. And at the end of that call, if it makes sense that we could work together, then I'll book a second call and say, you know what, why don't we book another hour in and let's talk about how I could help you. But that first call isn't about that. It's really about me assessing with you, hey, could this work? Like, do I want to work with you? Do you want to work with me? And could this strategy actually be better for you than what you're doing now? And if that's a no, I'll let you know. I'll tell you, you know what, you should try something else. Because whenever I work with a client, whether it's in my agency or whether it's in my coaching, I know one thing: if you aren't committed or convinced, then it falls down for everybody. And so I don't enjoy it, you don't enjoy it, the relationship can sour. And so really this first call is about, can this work for you? It's all about you. You'll get lots of value out of it for someone like me to look into your business. And then if it does work, if it doesn't work, I'll tell you which direction to go into. And if I think it could work, we'll just book a second meeting in. And that meeting, I'll be very clear with you. Okay. So I want to encourage you, book in that meeting, click on the link. I'd love to chat with you. I've got a couple of minutes left. Do you have any questions? Is there any questions you've got around what we discussed today? I think there is a comment here. Yeah, Dan says, I need a singular approach, perfect, rather than a shotgun approach to my agency. Consistency is key. It is. It is, Dan. Like, oh man, so I have 4 sons, and they always say the generations should get better. So my dad had a very bad upbringing, and he raised me totally different. And I really have gone to another level, in all areas of my life. And I'm very close to him, and I really appreciate where I am today because of him. But my boys will double where I'm at, because I am teaching them things that my father didn't teach me. I learned the hard way. And then their boys and their daughters will go even further. That's the way it should work with generations. Unfortunately, it doesn't always work that way. But the reason I tell you that is this consistency is key thing, and do it at 70% is one of those things that is really affecting the next generation of my family. It's not just me. I think most people struggle with this, that consistency. There's a great saying that says, small hinges swing big doors. So small hinges swing big doors. And the reality is, it's the little things you do every day that add up over time that make a massive difference in your life. And there's another saying that says, most people overestimate what they can do in a month and underestimate what they can do in a year. Because most people are trying to just go for the quick, let's just get it done now. Let's just do it all. But actually, the best approach is do a little bit every single day. And when you do that, it all adds up. So, okay. So I could talk all day about that, because I think the older you get, the more you realize that life is not so much about talent. It's really about execution and how you deal with what you have. Not having all the talent in the world, but just being a good steward of what you've got and having that consistency. So guys, thanks for getting on. There's a few of you that I know, I've seen you around a bit. Love to work with you. Book in the call if it's something you're interested in. But I hope you guys have a great weekend. It's Friday here in Australia, so we've got our weekend, and I'll be trying to do more of these webinars. I'll be going deep into different topics over the next few weeks. So I'll be putting another one up. So yeah, come along, and I look forward to speaking to you guys soon. All right. Have a great one. Speak to you soon. Bye.